Hey everyone, as I'm editing this video I figured it'd be good to make a quick intro explaining why you would want a air oil separator. With these direct injection motors, you can see here, I believe, yeah, this is a Porsche 997 cutaway image. You have fuel injectors plugged right into the cylinder wall here. And there's a lot of pros to this for engines, but there is a con in a lot of cars that utilize this engine. Is when the intake valve opens up, the fuel only kind of hits part of the valve, so you don't get that cleaning effect from the fuel when it's normally in your intake runners. So you'll get a lot of carbon buildup oftentimes in your intake runner as well as on your intake valves that will look kind of like this here. This is a pretty bad example here. Or I should say worst case examples. So what happens is over time this builds up, it's never getting cleaned, your air is going to flow wrong, your valves can even get jammed. Some cars are very susceptible to this, like the old 07, 08 Mini Cooper S. I had one of those and they were notorious for it. Dealerships and car companies, they don't own up to it, so they'll tell you there's, it's normal wear and tear, but pay them $700, they'll clean it for you. So an air oil separator's entire purpose is to kind of eliminate that. Now some cars have a fifth injector. I believe this is a cutaway from the FA20 out of the BRZ and FRS, and I believe those cars have a fifth injector that sprays fuel into the runner, so you do get that cleaning effect on the valves, which, to be honest, I think most cars should be doing this if you're running direct injection, but for whatever reason, they don't. So the idea of an air oil separator is you plug it in line of your crankcase and PCV system, and you catch all that oil and blow-by that these cars are notorious for having. And it will catch the oil and then recirculate it back into your oil pan. So it's not like a catch can. You're not going to have to open up your catch can every time you change your oil and dump out the oil, throw it away, clean it out, rinse and repeat. This is a plug and play, one and done. You probably won't have to check it unless something really goes wrong later on down the road. Perrin does supply you with an extra O-ring if you want to do the maintenance on it later on. It's completely up to you. I definitely would suggest an air oil separator just for the fact of the simplicity of it. Once it's on there, it can be a pain to install. You'll see in my video some of the parts I struggled with. And it's not hard to install per se for the actual difficulty of the part itself. It's just there's some stupid, tedious spots in the car that you just get hung up on for ridiculous, stupid little things. But once it's in there and you're all set to go, you shouldn't ever have to worry about any carbon buildup. So yeah, check out the rest of the install video here. Perrin shot us this air oil separator early. It's not quite yet to market for the 22 WRX, but it should be out, I would guess, any time here pretty soon. So yeah, check it out. Alright, it's cold. It's raining. I don't know if you can see that. It's raining good. But we're going to install some parts. We're doing the air oil separator as well as the Perrin charge pipe. So there's some things I need to do to the air oil separator first. So I'm going to use my snorkel here as a little table while the engine cools down from driving over here. So we'll get to that. So inside this air oil separator here, we're going to pull off the bottom, and there is a foam block, or little whatever you want to call it, in there. They recommend taking this out for pretty much any application, unless you have a race application, because it can freeze with the liquids that get in there. So we're just going to pop this off. Then we're going to go through and put all the NPT fittings on here. I see in the instructions it recommends to put the coolant fittings in while this is off, so we'll go ahead and do that. Probably toss it in a vise and get them nice and snug. And you'll put your thread tape or Teflon tape or whatnot on there as well. So we'll jump in and knock this out. For the screw right here, you're going to need a 5mm Allen key. There's going to be a little washer on there. Do not lose that. Pops right off. Little O-ring here, don't lose that. And then this is your little sponge circle to pop out. Get rid of that. There are quite a few fittings we're going to be using in this. Looks like these two guys right here, I'll pull them out, get a better view, are what's going to plug in for your coolant lines here. Based on the picture, we're going to clock it. It's your two fittings, kind of approximately. Facing that way into your main fitting here. Then we will add the drain plug. Kind of clock the opposite way. Basically like that. It's another 7/16 Bockers wrench for that one. Two 1/2-inch hose fittings. Get them taped up, and then we'll screw them in. I'll show you how to aim those. Okay, so we got these on there. A tip is to, before you want to fully install it, God, I need to hold this better. Thread these in and out a few times, just in case there's burrs on the threads. That way it's nice and clean, and you can feel where it's gonna lock and where you want it to sit. So you're going to want this one approximately, if we flatten this, kind of aiming that way towards your other crankcase connector there. I believe that's crankcase connector. We'll find out. And this one's simple. That's just a 90 straight on. Then we'll put the MPT plug focus. I gotta find an Allen wrench for that one real quick, and then we'll get that in there, and then we'll start going to actually remove parts now. Okay, found an Allen key. It's a 5/16. Come on, focus. 5/16 Allen key. Stop. Cool. Okay, so when that's all done, you'll have something like this. In this video, we're gonna also be doing a Perrin charge pipe. I'll also split that into its own separate little video. I'll cut it up. So for those who don't want to watch this entire thing just for the charge pipe. But there's similar, or the same exact steps for the charge pipe as putting this on. We're going to be popping off the charge pipe, the stock charge pipe. We'll pull this off. We need to pull out the radiator fan. I don't know if I can get a good image right now. Pull out this radiator fan, charge pipe, obviously the snorkel, intercooler comes out. That won't be for the charge pipe install, that's just for the air oil separator. But we're going to start by yanking the snorkel and the radiator fan out first. I'll probably time lapse that because I feel I'm going to struggle with that connector down there. So we'll knock that out first, and then we'll get into the clips here. Okay, I had to stop the time lapse. These clips right here, and especially the camera will focus, this one right here, these and whoever put these in here need to burn in hell, the deepest depths of hell. This took embarrassingly too long to get off. They're new, they're very stiff, and they're awkwardly placed in here. You can't get your hands in here without scraping up a lot of knuckles and getting very mad. I got the fan out though. It's held in with two 10mm nuts, and down there, kind of hard to see it, right? Right there. There's two tabs. There's one on each side that the bottom of the radiator just kind of pops into. So that's really cool. But again, those clips, they can burn in hell. Now we'll get to some more clips. There's also a 10mm nut or bolt right here. Stupid autofocus. We'll need to pop that out. Then there's, I'll try to zoom in down there. I don't know if my camera will do good. That clip right there is very similar to these clips right here. You just pop them out on each side with a flat head. I'll put the camera down and we'll pop them out, and it should slide right out. So I'll get to knocking that 10mm out and then pop the clips. Hopefully my fat ass don't block the view. Oh, I'm a liar. It's not a 10. I think it's a 12. See, I'm a liar. It's a 12. I swear to God, these clips are going to be the hardest part of the install. There's 2 points where it needs to pop up. One side's a little harder to get to, but it'll pop out just like that. And then I get a fight with the bottom one. I've never taken the bottom one off yet. This is the first time. That guy right there I'm fighting with right now. It's supposed to just pop out on each side, similar to the top, but it's just awkward down here. So I'm going to time lapse and see how long it takes me to figure this out. Okay, for the sake of the charge pipe portion, we're going to pop this coupler off. It's a standard worm clamp, hose clamp, whatever you want to call it, right there. On the back side, you will use you can use a screwdriver. It's a little cramped. I'm going to use a 7mm socket. Okay, gotta pull off the 12mm bolts here. There's 5 of them. 2 here, 2 here, and then we go for that one there. Alright, next we're gonna pop off the pulley cover there. It should be 2 10s, I believe, but we'll find out if I'm a liar again. That's interesting. One 10mm and a clip. So this is the crankcase vent pipe, and we have to get to this here and break it off. And it literally says use a chisel. I think we broke it. Hey, got it. And we need this O-ring. It's either going to be sitting on the ring or up inside of it. I don't know if I can see it. That notch in there. I need to put this O-ring in there. There we go. Alright, so we follow the crankcase pipe down here. And then we gotta unclip that. And I believe it's like the intake. Oh, see, that was easy. Now we gotta cut this open. Cut it along here. If I can slice my hand off doing this. Alright, I'm gonna go get some other clippers and see if I can knock this out. This is kind of a pain to try and film right here because how my camera's set up. I need somebody to hold it, but again, somebody boned out on me today, so bear with me, I'll go cut this off. Alright, so one thing the instructions don't mention, at least as of now, I'm sure they're going to have some better instructions for the full release of it. There is a little O-ring on here, so it doesn't say if this is needed for when you put the hose on, because we're just going to cut 24 inches of the supplied half-inch hose. And it just goes on here. You don't need a clamp on this one. I'm going to leave the O-ring. Luckily, I didn't cut right through it when I was cutting off that plastic pipe. Just keep an eye out for that. I don't know how necessary that is with how the hose is set up, but it would suck to cut that off and actually need it. Once again, embarrassingly too long to get this damn thing on here. But it's on. So again, cut 24 inches of this and then set it aside. Okay, with that put aside, I'm going to move us over here. Try to get a best angle here. We need to take the alternator off. Now, I believe it's a 19 drive. Or 19 socket to drive that. Yep, it is a 19. Oh, I think I gotta go the other way. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's up. Slide the Allen wrench in there and it'll hold it. I am too fat for this. So, pull the belt. It was just super tight. Try and wiggle this out of the way. Okay, it took some convincing, but the alternator's up. Set aside right now. Then we're going to be moving back here to the fun connections that are going to be hard to reach. So I will try to rig up the camera. So we got to sneak. So here's the PCV hose here. We got to sneak. I don't know if I can get it on camera. There's like you can kind of see it. There's a clip down there. We got to get in there. It's just like this clip. We got to get down in there, squeeze it to disconnect this hose. Okay, there's the PVC valve. I need a 27mm deep socket to get on that. We have a filming monkey now. When you get the PVC valve out, there's some goo in there. Clean that off. You'll get your 3/8 NPT fitting with the 1/2-inch barb. This will go into where we pulled out the PVC valve. And then you will need a 19 crow's foot. A knuckle on the crow's foot will help tremendously. Need to cut 20 inches of the 1/2-inch hose they supply you. They say to use a 6 hose clamp in the instructions, but there's no markings to state a 6 unless I'm an idiot and don't know something. There's a 4 and a 12, 22. So we just got the closest fitting, and we're gonna just slide this down onto the barb we just put in and drape this over the manifold. So you're going to want to cut off 2 1/8 inch of the stock PCV tube. One trick I was doing was to measure it out and just put a hose clamp so you can cut right along your line there. Okay, so you're going to take your stock PCV valve and the adapter here. You're going to put these together. Put your tape on here first, obviously, and then we'll put that into the tube we just cut off. So you get the PCV valve adapter together, put on the stock piece of tubing you cut off, clamp it down, then we put it on the stock location. Okay, we go back to the 1/2-inch hose they supplied again. We're going to cut another 19 inches off to put on the PCV valve. So you're going to take the supplied 832 set screw and you're going to start it just a little bit. You don't want it peeking through there. You just want it enough so that it holds into the vent thing here. So the instructions say to add some grease here and then pry this forward to get room for the AOS in here. We'll apply the grease here in a little bit, but first we're gonna go in and pry it. I'm just kind of using that M6 bolt as leverage. It doesn't take much, and that should get us through. You're gonna take the 1/4-inch tube they supplied. You don't cut this. You slide it on the bottom fitting here. This one does not require a hose clamp. And this is obviously white. So you're going to take your supplied 5/16 hose, leave it completely uncut for this, and you're going to attach it on each side in a big loop. And you will use one of these clamps on each side. Alright, you're going to have a giant loop now, and you're going to want to make sure your hoses go out on each side straddling this crankcase pipe here. Alright, now we're going to pop this guy on the crankcase pipe if I don't get snagged up on everything. Try to feed this down here for now. Tubes get us. There we go. So we'll try and get over in here. There's a hex shape on the crankcase pipe here, and then I didn't film it earlier, but there's kind of a flat on the crankcase portion of the AOS. You're going to want to line that up right here to the crankcase pipe, and then you're going to want to just make sure you're not hitting anything here. We're pretty clear. And then you're going to want to start tightening your set screw. So we completely missed the part where we need to install the turbo restrictor, turbo sump restrictor. And it's going to be down here right in the front coming off the block. And there's this clip down here. The instructions say to use a screwdriver and kind of go back and forth with a flathead. It was not working for me, so what I did was I just got some channel locks and squeezed it, and it popped right open. So we're gonna disconnect all this and get the restrictor in there. You're gonna have to fight with this clip here. I got some needle nose pliers and squeezed it, and then you're gonna pull this black plastic portion down here towards the ground, and it'll slide out. And then you're gonna pop this off the tube, and then we'll install the restrictor. That's what it looks like when you pull it out. So you're gonna need to pull this cap off. Instructions say to try it with a flathead. Doesn't work. You gotta break it. Then you'll align this valve, whatever. There's notches down here. You'll twist it, align it, pop it out. Then you'll want to pull off this O-ring to put on the restrictor Perrin supplies. Screw your little NPT fitting into the new turbo sump restrictor. So you're going to take the supplied restrictor and force it back into the stock clip. Shut up, dog. It will take force to push it in there because of those notches, so you just got to force it in. And then you'll take your O-ring and pop it into the notch. Like that. Okay, you're going to take this now, put the supplied hose clamp on there, pop this in, and you're going to plug it into the stock location. This does swivel, so we can orientate it just how we want it for the AOS. So we'll clamp this on, plug it back in, and show you what it looks like once it's all plugged in. So that's how it's going to look once it's back in there. Alright, so now you'll snug this down here. Again, line it up with the hex here and start tightening the 832 set screw. The instructions state when it starts to get tightened, you'll twist it more and it'll keep tightening. This doesn't really seem to be the case here, so I don't know if I hit it just perfect right now. Oh, wait. Yeah, it does actually. You do wiggle it and it does tighten a little more. That's kind of weird. And then you'll just tighten it till it stops. I wouldn't overdo it. Still going a little bit. I'd say that's probably good. So now you're going to route the hoses. You're going to kind of push this guy this way. You're going to feed this one below where the alternator goes. And then we zip tie it down here to the stock crankcase pipe. Then we're going to put in the alternator back in. It's the way we took it out, so we'll just time lapse that. So the instructions say to unclip this here. I'm assuming to get a little more wiggle room. It's kind of a pain to get to, but so I just popped this clip off. It's a 10mm bolt here for the whole bracket. Popped it off, got a screwdriver under there, and then got the clip to wiggle out. So we'll bolt this clip back on and then continue routing our hoses. So we're going to route our turbo sump drain here. We're going to go down through the belts here, up and around to our restrictor. We'll use this little hose clamp on it, and then we're going to zip tie the hell out of it to the radiator wires here so that it won't hit our belts. Now we're going to come back to the throttle body coolant hose here. Gotta pinch this clamp. If I can get on it good with this damn thing. Pop this hose off, and then we're going to start linking in our coolant line for the AOS. There's no coolant. It said there was going to be coolant. Not that much. So you're going to take the supplied connector pipe here, put it into the stock OEM hose, and then you use the stock OEM clip to connect here. Like that. Right, so we're gonna route our coolant lines coming along backside of the manifold here. Take your stock coolant line, and you're going to want to get this to where you want it, or an approximate idea. Should have fed this under first. Okay. And cut this to fit here. You're going to want to give yourself enough room, cut it to fit, and then take the supplied little clamp, clamp it down, and we'll zip tie it so it doesn't hit goofy stuff. So we'll cut that and then show what it looks like once it's hooked up. So this will be how you want it here. Connected, OEM clamp, ugly little clamp. And this piece, you can cut it shorter if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it to length here and just kind of route it with the other line. Tuck it down here. Put the supplied clamp on, and then hook it to your throttle body. That's the wrong clamp. I'm gonna have to take that off. Now that the coolant lines are all set up, you take the hose off the rear crankcase where we remove the PCV valve, and we've connected it to the side port here, the clamp. With what's left of your hose here, your 1/2 inch hose, I think it's 1/2 inch. Yeah. Cut off 12 inches, and that's going to be part of the, this is what we're going to attach right here. And then we're going to tee off or Y off into the original pipe we took off before and chopped up to our new PCV valve. So we started putting the Y on. You don't need hose clamps on this, and you'll find out why, because they suck putting on. Then you connect this one to the top port. Alright, so we got this original piece here that we took off earlier connected to the Y. Make sure your clip on this, you want to slide it up so that both points are in the little recesses there. Otherwise you won't get it back on. Then you connect it back down to where we took it off. Snap it in. But not like that. There we go. Make sure it pops on the O-ring. There. Alright, tip. Don't route this over this pipe here. Your intercooler won't go back on. Alright, so for this, we're also doing the Perrin charge pipe. So if you're just putting your stock charge pipe back on, just put it back on the exact opposite way you took it off. If you're doing a charge pipe, you're going to take out the O-ring from the inside and put it inside. Perrin sends you a machined piece. You're going to put it inside here.
One eternity later.
There's a little groove in there. This will sit in there. Then we're gonna slide it onto the turbo outlet there, and we're gonna need to get our clip. This is the one off of the bottom of the charge pipe. You want to do this part last because there's no way of holding it onto the pipe like the charge pipe does. It doesn't snap out, so you'll need to get this on and then kind of pop it in, and you're going to want to kind of angle it so that next time you take it off you'll be able to pop the clip out. Once this is all snug on there, you're going to come back up here to your stock intercooler inlet, and you're going to pop your coupler on here till it stops. You got to make sure the name face is up. You get more horsepower.
Gives you more horsepower.
Alright, so now we're going to get the charge pipe in, and they recommend to slide the bottom in first, then pop it in the top here. We've already put our coupler down there, and our extra, or not coupler, clamp down there and up here, so we won't be forgetting them. Alright, now that was probably the longest video I will ever do in quite some time. I just wanted to throw up there kind of an idea of what you can expect from Perrin's Air Oil Separator, cost-wise maybe. Again, I don't have the final release date or cost of the 22 kit, but this here is the kit for the 2015 to 2021 WRX. I would say it's probably going to be very similar. Install-wise, it's not terribly difficult. It is time-consuming, and you will have parts that are just very aggravating because of just annoying, like the fan plugs and whatnot. Other than that, I would say it will be easier on you if you're running a front mount intercooler. Trying to route the lines underneath the top mount intercooler, it can be very tight. You see in the video I had to reroute them a little bit. Otherwise, it's something you can do yourself pretty easily. I would definitely do it on a weekend just in case you get mad and have to walk away for the day. Otherwise, you know, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and all that stuff I'm supposed to say.